House File 603. Again, the sections of the bill that relate directly to education are sections 2, 3, and 5. Those are the ones that fall under the purview of this committee. And I will start by asking Ms. Para to walk through those 3 sections of the bill for the committee's consideration, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. House Bill 603 modifies provisions of the Public Employment Labor Relations Act. Section 2 modifies the definition of public employee. It makes part-time employees and separately temporary or seasonal employees working for a school district or charter school public employees under Pell Rep, which would grant them the right to unionize and bargain collectively. Section 3 modifies the definition of terms and conditions of employment. It adds class sizes, student testing, and student to personnel ratios in school districts to the mandatory terms of collective bargaining under Pell Rep, which means school districts and union representatives of the school district employees must meet and negotiate over these terms. And Section 5 requires public employers to provide union representatives with access to bargaining unit members at work, including meetings with members before, during, or after the workday or on break times, and 30-minute meetings with newly hired employees. It also gives union representatives the right to use government facilities and email systems for bargaining unit communications and meetings, investigations into grievances and workplace issues, administration of collective negotiations, and internal union matters. However, meetings cannot interfere with government operations or promote partisan activity, and associated costs may be charged to the union representative organization.
Thank you, Ms. Para. Representative Jordan, would you like to move your bill so it's officially before the committee, please?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And please proceed with any of the testimony that you have related to House File 603.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. COVID-19 and the murder of George Floyd have really illuminated the inequities within our schools and broader communities that the legislature has been talking about for years. Our state has really struggled with racist policies in our communities, justice system.
Representative, sorry to interrupt you, but we're moving House File 603 to the Labor Committee.
Correct, Madam Chair. I move that yes, so moved.
Okay, thank you. Please continue.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so we as a state of Minnesota have really struggled with racist policies that we've seen reverberate around the state and all of our systems of government, but especially within our school system. And then for decades, our federal and state governments have been divesting from public education, which leaves educators and school districts with inadequate resources. These twin pandemics of racial inequities and COVID are not just about learning loss. So we've heard in this committee many times, there's collective trauma around losing loved ones to a virus and the economic strife and uncertainties that our families continue to endure. New examples of racial injustice in our criminal justice system and the dog whistle rhetoric that we've seen so much about during the pandemic have exacerbated this trauma. And we ask educators to do a lot. We ask educators to address the social and emotional learning in addition to academics. We are asking educators to address these academic needs, but emotional tolls, and they need to be able to strategize on the best ways to provide supports to struggling students and rebuild our schools. But in order to do so, educators need new and innovative tools in their toolboxes. Educators must be able to collectively organize around the real issues impacting our students: class sizes, support for English language learners, more school counselors, nurses, and social workers to address these growing mental health needs, the frequency of district-level testing in schools, and ratios for staff to students with special needs. House File 603 was designed to recognize that educators care about more than their compensation. They want to say in their students' learning conditions and the future of their profession. And it's time for our state law to reflect that. This bill would expand the list of mandatory subjects of bargaining to include class sizes, frequency and use of standardized tests not mandated by state law, and setting safe student-to-staff ratios for our education support professionals who work directly with students. It also reconciles state law with the Supreme Court Janus decision by guaranteeing union access to new hires and work sites so that they can explain rights at work, including the right to join a union. expanding collective bargaining rights to more part-time employees, which would align PELRA with our pension statute. It would protect employee privacy from solicitations by classifying designated addresses and phone numbers provided to licensing agencies as private data. And it explicitly bars claims for back dues collected during the 40 years in which collecting fair share fees was legal. In order to address the inequities that have become so visible during our pandemic, we need to have more conversations about our students' needs, not fewer. This bill recognizes the power of public decision-making and sheds lights on how districts make those staffing decisions at our school. I hope you will support House File 603. I am going to turn over testimony now to our testifiers, and I will also stand for questions at the end.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. Up first, I have Meg Luger-Nicolai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to give a quick overview of the sections that you discussed, 2, 3, and 5, from the perspective of Education Minnesota. First of all, Section 2 is intended to end a situation in which we've got an arbitrary carve out of individuals who are performing work, often the same work, next to other bargaining unit members, but they themselves are not permitted to be in a bargaining unit. And I want to be clear that this change, while it would allow an individual to be a member of the bargaining unit, it would not compel union membership. That is still a choice under PELRA that obviously hasn't changed. So this would simply make it the case that if you, for example, work 34% of a normal work week, but are doing precisely the same work as your colleague, you would still have the same access to the collective bargaining agreement and the benefits that your colleague does. With regard to Section 3, we just want to ensure that conversations around how to provide services to students, and especially in those situations where they touch on the working conditions of the adults who are providing the services, are things that can be fully discussed at the bargaining table. As is the case with the prior section, this is not something that changes the law on bargaining to the extent that the parties never have to, it doesn't mandate a concession, it doesn't mandate a particular agreement, but it gives the parties the full opportunity to air those issues amongst each other and often in a public setting, which bargaining can be, so that those can be discussed both with respect to the working conditions of the individuals who are bargaining, but also the students that they are serving. And then finally, Section 5 really is a response to the changing law. It's been made clear, and unions have definitely taken the note that it's important to be accountable to the membership and available to their membership. And one of the ways that we can do that is to have access to them at their work sites, which of course is the place over which the union has the jurisdiction to help them and provide services to them. So one of the things that we heard in the wake of the Janus decision was that it would really increase the accountability of unions, and we agree. And we think that this would help facilitate us to be more accountable to our members, and so that they can understand the choice that they're making when they decide whether or not to join. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Next up, we have Peter Ekhoff with Robbinsdale Federation of Teachers.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Peter Ekhoff. I'm the president of the Robbinsdale Federation of Teachers, Local 872, where I have the opportunity to represent over 1,400 educators. I speak today in support of this legislation. I had the great fortune of enjoying a great working relationship with my administration in Robbinsdale, and we all highly value the right of collective bargaining, and we believe that it lends great efficiency to our system of supporting quality teaching and learning environments. I believe this legislation supports the opportunity for all to build these productive relationships. We educators do value far more than our compensation, and we want more opportunity to have greater input and control in our learning environments at our work sites. We believe that we, as the experts in student instruction, should also have greater opportunity to bargain over more elements of our teaching conditions. These elements should include such topics as class sizes, our students to staff ratio, particularly for our education support professionals, and the frequency of the use of non-mandated standardized tests. Spending valuable instructional time with constant testing actually robs many of our most vulnerable and high-needs students of time that should be spent in further instruction. And we believe that we should engage in robust discussions around these topics. With the courts overturning over 40 years of settled law with the Janus case, it also compels us to ask the legislature to update our state statutes in order to support the continuation of high-quality labor management functioning in our school districts. The proposals in this legislation do just that. It includes union access to new hires at our work sites so that we can explain to them their rights at work. It expands bargaining rights to more part-time employees at schools that receive per pupil funding, allowing us to represent all of our educators in these discussions. It also accounts for protecting employee privacy. And it importantly bars claims for back dues collected during the 40-year time when the courts allowed for the collection of our fair share fees. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to appear before you here today. I'd be happy to entertain any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Up next, we have Kate Schmidt with Dakota County United Educators.
Good afternoon, Chair Richardson and committee members. My name is Kate Schmidt, and this is my 31st year as an educator. I'm an elementary school teacher from the Rosemont Apple Valley Egan School District. I'm on leave serving as president of Dakota County United Educators. It was the hardest decision of my life to leave my classroom to run a union. But I've done it because of students, and I'm here today because of students. I've also been on the negotiations team in my district for 11 contracts, which it covers 22 years. I'd like to talk about how House File 603 addresses important shortcomings in our bargaining laws that could improve public education for all students. Every 2 years, DQ surveys our members before we begin bargaining. I've noticed a pattern in our survey results over the last decade. Teacher responses on the survey show more interest in making changes to educational programming decisions for the benefit of our students rather than their own pocketbook. They want smaller class sizes, fewer assessment requirements, and more support professionals. Teachers want to provide input and have some control over the learning environments in their work sites and the future of their profession. They want this input and control to benefit students. It is time for state law to reflect that. There are 3 parts of this bill I'd like to highlight. First of all, class size matters. I have personally experienced class sizes ranging from 17 students to 33 students in my elementary classrooms. There is no comparison in the quality of education students received when they were in the class of 17. I knew their skills, interests, and dreams better than any class before. That class of students showed the best growth and learning I have had in my career. Decisions around such an important thing as class size should be discussed and negotiated so the public can see and weigh in and tell the school board and my union what they believe is best for kids. Secondly, teachers are not opposed to tests. I believe we invented them. However, we also understand the importance of the timing of tests and the number of tests that make learning most effective. This information is important. Unfortunately, over the course of my career, I have seen an exponential increase in the number of assessments given to students over the course of a year. Test preparation and practice has taken over our curriculum. As an example, an elementary school teacher in my district is required to give individual reading and math district mandated assessments to each student. While assessing each student, the rest of the class is asked to engage in managed independent learning. It takes approximately 30 to 45 minutes to complete each one of these assessments. With a class of 25 students, which most of my teachers do not have right now, that means 12 hours of class time is lost each time a district-required assessment is given. Seeing that we do both of those assessments 3 times a year, 75 hours of direct teaching time is lost. Additionally, my district uses map testing as well as another district mandated assessment. For context, my students have approximately 940 hours of instruction in a normal school year. A loss of 79 hours is significant. Almost 9% of their time is being spent being assessed or learning on their own while others are being assessed. And this doesn't include MCA tests or access testing. Allowing the public to witness how educators can negotiate over the frequency and use of standardized tests not mandated by state law should be part of a systems change. Lastly, let's admit it, schools are being asked to do more and more each year. I, like Peter, am lucky enough to work in a school district that has a great relationship with our district, and we have a licensed school nurse in every school. It still isn't enough. The school nurses in our high schools are responsible for 2,000 plus students. They are helping students manage their diabetes, manage concussion protocols, deal with teen pregnancy, and a variety of other health issues. The pandemic has also highlighted the mental health needs of our students. Currently, our middle school and high school counselors have a caseload of over 500 plus students each. I'm sorry, I misspoke, 400 plus students each. How can they possibly meet the needs of our individual students? Our special education classrooms who need paraprofessional support to run an effective and efficient classroom are also struggling. Decisions regarding the number of paraprofessionals in a classroom should be based on need, not budget. Again, teachers understand the important role all these individuals play in our schools, and allowing the public to witness how educators can negotiate over the number of support professionals as necessary should be part of a systems change. As you consider this bill, I would ask you to think about this system where decisions are made solely by those administrators in power. That system has failed teachers, and it's failing many of our students. This bill helps change that system. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you for your testimony. We will move into public testimony before going to member questions. We've got Deb Hinton, the Executive Director of the Minnesota Association of School Administrators.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, and members of the committee. I am Deb Hinton, the Executive Director of the Minnesota Association of School Administrators. And I do have some thoughts on HF 603, Representative Jordan's bill. I am speaking today on behalf of MASA, the Minnesota School Boards Association, and the Association of Metropolitan School Districts. The Public Employee Labor Relations Act, also referred to as PELRA, has long served as a guide for public schools in negotiating with full-time employees. Bargaining units and school districts come together regularly and are careful to negotiate within the limitations of the act. It kind of serves as a Bible of sorts for contract negotiations. We have three main concerns with the amended language outlined in the bill. First, school districts need as much flexibility as possible to staff their schools. This year has highlighted how unpredictable student enrollment can be. But the fluctuation in enrollment is an annual factor school boards and school districts must address through their budgeting and staffing processes. Using census data, the survival rate of classes moving through the system and other factors provides helpful information in projecting enrollment each year, but are not exact in predicting how many students will show up in September. The vast majority of a school district's funding is based on student enrollment. So why is this important? The proposed language change to PELRA under terms and conditions for employment would allow class size and personnel ratios to be negotiated. When class size and personnel ratios are predetermined by contract negotiations, a school district's financial situation becomes irrelevant, and school districts lose flexibility along with the ability to be creative. Thus, if a district has declining enrollment leading to a loss of revenue, but must maintain a specific personnel ratio or class size given what has been negotiated in a contract, the district may need to lay off much needed support staff like counselors, nurses, mental health staff, and others critical to providing support for our students.
Time.
If the enrollment decline occurs in September after budgets have already been adopted, school districts must maintain the staff under contract and carry a deficit throughout the school year that eventually will have to be dealt with. Second, the new language would require student testing to be negotiated. The state determines many of the tests administered in our schools. While we certainly freely express our opinions about the types and numbers of tests required by the state, we understand that the state must meet federal testing requirements and our impact is limited. While districts use interim testing to determine which students are progressing, the majority of the tests are determined at the state level because of federal requirements. There simply is little to negotiate with regard to testing. Finally, the addition of part-time employees under the amended language proposed to PELRA would require school superintendents and school boards to negotiate terms and conditions with a group that is generally quite small and in some school districts limited to maybe just a couple of staff. Bargaining with a unit of that size would be unnecessary, as when part-time staff are hired, their contracts are generally based off of contracts with full-time employees in similar positions. In other words, part-time employees are generally paid proportionately to those in full-time positions, and those salaries, benefits in terms of employment, have already been negotiated between the school district and the school board. In essence, the part-time employees have been part of negotiations in most cases, given the practice of school districts to prorate benefits and salaries according to contracts already in place. The statute defines terms and conditions of employment to include hours of
Ms.
employment.
Hinton, I'm going to ask you to wrap up your testimony because we do have other public testifiers.
Sure, I'm happy to do so, Chair Richardson. I will just say then we are available for further discussion. We appreciate your consideration of our comments, and we do not believe the changes referenced today are necessary. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Hinton, for your testimony. Douglas Seaton.
Yes, Chair Richardson, can you hear me?
Yes, you're coming through clearly. Please proceed.
Very good. Sorry, I can't get my camera to take at the moment. I'm the president of the Upper Midwest Law Center, and I've been asked to testify about some of these provisions. I will comment since several speakers have addressed the details of them. I'll comment briefly on the Section 2 and Section 3 issues. I would just submit that what is being proposed is a dramatic change in the original drafting of the PELRA provisions and their major amendments in subsequent years. I was with House Research and was the nonpartisan draftsman on a great deal of that work. And I would say that we tried to mirror the National Labor Relations Act in many of these provisions to try to keep labor law on the same keel that it's been in the national field and in other states as well. And exclusion of part-timers, temporaries, seasonal employees is meant to protect both the bargaining unit and the exclusive representative, for that matter, because these individuals do not have quite the same interest as others in the bargaining unit. They're antecedent to the district. They're not really attached to the bargaining unit, and it would be a very dramatic change in the nature of the bargaining relationships to be including these individuals in the bargaining units, or even more complicated, creating separate tiny vestigial units for them, as has been testified to. The other issues that are a problem are the negotiation of class size and testing issues. These are not terms and conditions of employment, as has been understood since the 1930s in labor relations. So I again would say these would be very, very poor changes to be making. The access to email facilities is a very controversial, of the employer, is a very controversial topic all over the country. It's been subject to a great deal of criticism at the National Labor Relations Board when it was attempted to be introduced there. It has since been discontinued, and for good reason. The employer should have control of its own facilities. The union has a great many ways to communicate, and should communicate, of course, but email should not be one of them. Lastly, I would say, in my last minute or two, that the liability provision, several witnesses have commented about it here, is not Janus decision compliance at all. Janus decision, the United States Supreme Court decision that said that employees should not be required to join or pay money to unions that they do not support. Unions serve a very good purpose for those who wish to be represented and wish to support them. But the compliance with Janus would instead require that the public employer and the union convey expressly to employees the fact that they have a right to not support the union, and that there be a documented way to show that they are either not waiving that right or that they are waiving it. And this is not what's provided in this law. So the idea that this is compliance with the Janus decision is simply not at all true. And what's more, we represent at the Upper Midwest Law Center many public employees who are fighting to have their right to discontinue their dues payments and resign from their unions recognized by many of the unions, including those testifying here today, and they're being trammeled in their right to do that. And this statute is designed if it could be enforced, that may be in question, but if it could be enforced, it would cut off their right to a remedy the federal courts may ultimately impose, that the union should disgorge agency fee payments that they have collected over time that are now found to be unconstitutional. And there is a fight going on in the courts right now about that. We're representing multiple public employees in those pieces of litigation. And I think they should be recognized and allowed to proceed with their activity and with these lawsuits. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Seaton, for your testimony. So I will let members know that we have 6 hands raised, and we have 8 amendments that we have to get through. And we're moving to a vote at 2:10. And I will start with member questions. Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And one of the things that the testifier from, I believe it was Robbinsdale, I don't really remember who said it, but they said that it was in the best interest of the students I'm sorry, let me start over. My question is, how is it in the best interest of students for teachers to be called out of the classroom for 30 minutes to visit with their union rep? How is that beneficial when our kids are already behind on classroom time right now? How is that beneficial to have that teacher called out of the classroom?
Thank you, Representative Scott. Mr. Eckhoff was with Robbinsdale. Would you like to take that question?
Sure, I'd be happy to. As a matter of fact, I don't believe that you'll find any local that pulls teachers from actual minutes where they are engaged directly with students to have these conversations, but rather are taking the opportunity while the teacher is present at their work site. Most of the meetings that I have with individuals are during their personal preparation time, where I get an opportunity to touch base with them while they're actually in their physical space where they're working. It allows us some of that flexibility to have interaction, answer questions, and support teachers. But I have never been engaged in a conversation with a teacher during their instructional time, unless it's been to represent them when they have been pulled by an administrator during their instructional time to have a conversation, and I'm there to represent the due process rights of the individual in that discussion. So I would assert that none of us are here arguing to take away teachers from their instructional interaction and support of students to have these conversations, but rather have the right to be interacting with them on work site to answer and support questions during their prep time, their lunch time, other opportunities that are the time where they're not engaged with students.
Madam Chair, just real quickly follow up. If the testifier or the bill's author could point to me a place in the bill where it restricts when a teacher can have these or the union rep can have these conversations with teachers, that would be helpful.
Representative Jordan, would you like to take that or defer to one of your testifiers?
I will defer to Ms. Luger to walk through Representative Scott's question.
Sure. The answer to that is at lines 4.29 through 5.2, which refer to conduct worksite meetings during lunch and other breaks and before and after the workday. And then with respect to the concern about the 30 minutes, I think that's particularly viewed as something that might be part of staff onboarding, which doesn't take place simultaneously with student instruction. And, you know, for teachers, they have a dedicated workshop week prior to the start of the school year and before the kids are at school. So that would presumably be the time, place when I think that would take place.
And Madam Chair, thank you. And to whoever wants to answer the question, because this bill is allowing the new onboarded teacher or employee's home address to be given to the union rep, does that mean that they can expect a visit from their union rep at their home? Otherwise, why would they need that address?
Representative Scott, in terms of the data pieces, I believe this bill is going to be going to judiciary as well to address those. Representative Jordan, any response to Representative Scott?
Yes, that piece will be, yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And to Representative Scott, that piece will be addressed in judiciary. I don't know that the bill is there to allow, you know, for public, it won't be released to the public, it'll be released to the union and the bargaining unit for union business. That could entail, you know, mailing letters, mailing forms, and communicating via mail with a member, for example.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. We will take one more question here and then move to amendments and then come back to questions. Representative Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a quick comment and I have a question for you then actually. But my comment is, I think collaboration is so important. And as a former teacher, I appreciated being able to collaborate with my administrators and talk about what kind of testing is best for students, how much, how often, and so on. When we have collaboration between administrators, teachers, and parents, the ones closest to those students, I think the best education takes place. However, when we move something to a bargaining table, it becomes driven by different people, sometimes outside of the school district. And I feel like that is going to really clamp down on collaboration and limit that. And that's something I really appreciated as a teacher. So I just wanted to make that comment. My question for you, Madam Chair, is there are a lot of components in here that are going to greatly affect the finances of a school district, such as class size and so on. Is this going to be referred to the Education Finance Committee?
Thank you, Representative Bennett. So in terms of where the bill is going next, where it's going to be heard in labor, and Representative Jordan, do you want to walk us through where the bill would be headed?
Sure, Madam Chair. And also, Representative Bennett, to your point, these should be collaborations. Negotiations are a collaboration for districts and for their educators and for communities. So opening up this ability to collaborate by this bill is something that will actually allow us to have that conversation in the open, to really talk about the effects of class sizes, to talk about the effects of testing on our students. As far as the bill path goes, Madam Chair, the bill is definitely going to labor next. It also needs to make a stop in judiciary. I wouldn't mind having it heard in education finance as well. There have been a number of points brought up about education finance, and I think to both this bill and other concerns about making sure that we have flexibility and are adequately funding education, that's another thing that the legislature really needs to work on and address, so that our districts are not fighting with each other and not having to negotiate over funding. We need to actually fund our districts, and we can do that here in this committee and in the Education Finance Committee.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. Moving on to amendments here, we've received a number of amendments. I believe we have 8 before us currently. Representative Erickson, did you want to move any of these amendments? I'll defer to you on the order.
Madam Chair, we'd like to move all of them. I think Representative Scott was going to move the A1 amendment, but if she's had to step out for a second, I will offer the A1 amendment and ask for a roll call.
Okay. Did you want to say more to present on the A1 amendment, Representative Erickson?
Well, yes, I would. Thank you very much. You know, the personnel data necessary to run an election would likely include an employee's location of work and work telephone number. And this data is already public data under Chapter 13. Additionally, the section of law makes reference to fair share fee assessments, which are no longer mandatory following the Janus opinion from the United States Supreme Court. And finally, in removing responsible authority, and I put that in quotes, from the current statutory language, it is now unclear who would determine what personnel data is needed by the union. And so with that, Madam Chair, I move to delete Section 1 of this House File 603.
Thank you, Representative Erickson. Again, we're looking at specifically for this committee, sections 2, 3, and 5 of the bill. Representative Jordan, I will let you respond.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Erickson. I think Section 1 is very important to this bill. This is critical information that unions need to be able to communicate with members exactly about decisions such as the Janus decision and about their union dues. So I think this is a very important part of the bill and should remain in.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. Ms. Larson, can you please call the roll?
Chair Richardson?
No.
Vice Chair Hassan?
No.
Representative Erickson?
Yes.
Representative Drazkowski?
Aye.
Representative Bennett? Representative Bennett? Representative Berg?
No.
Representative Bowe?
Aye.
Representative Christensen?
No.
Representative Edelson?
No.
Representative Feist?
No.
Representative Frazier?
No.
Representative Jordan?
No.
Representative Keeler?
No.
Representative Moeller?
No.
Representative Mueller?
Mueller votes aye.
Representative Poston, excused. Representative Scott?
Aye.
Representative Erdahl?
Aye.
Representative Wozlowick?
No.
Representative Bennett? Madam Chair, there are 6 ayes and 11 nays.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. The noes have it. We'll move on to the A2 amendment. Representative Erickson, do you know who's presenting that amendment?
Madam Chair, I'll move the A2 amendment to delete Section 2 and note that this section expands the scope of public employees for collective bargaining to include part-time employees and currently exempted temporary or seasonal employees working fewer than 67 days for a school district or a charter school. But, you know, when you look at this section, it appears to focus more on increasing the pool of employees from which the union can collect dues, rather than meeting the best interests of employees who are providing part-time or temporary service on behalf of our students. And that is so important in this day when we are experiencing the closure of our schools for a year or more, and our students, in many cases, are so far behind. And Madam Chair, I request a roll call.
Thank you, Representative Erickson. Representative Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I respectfully oppose Representative Erickson's amendment. I think it's very important that we have alignment with our pension law, and it's important that we are making sure that everyone who wants to be part of a bargaining unit has the right to do so. So I request a no vote.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. Ms. Larson, please take the roll.
Chair Richardson,
No?
Vice Chair Hassan,
No.
Representative Erickson,
Aye.
Representative Drazkowski,
Aye.
Representative Bennett, Representative Berg,
No.
Representative Bowe, Representative Bowe, Representative Christensen,
No.
Representative Edelson,
No.
Representative Feist,
No.
Representative Frazier,
No.
Representative Jordan,
No.
Representative Keeler,
No.
Representative Moeller,
No.
Representative Mueller,
Mueller votes yes.
Representative Poston excused, Representative Scott,
Yes.
Representative Erdahl,
Yes.
Representative Wozlowick,
No.
Representative Bennett, Representative Bowe,
Yes.
Madam Chair, there are 6 ayes and 11 nays.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. The A2 amendment is not adopted. Representative Erickson to the A3 amendment.
Madam Chair, I move the A3 amendment and request a roll call. This section 3 expands the scope of terms and conditions of employment subject to collective bargaining to include class size, student testing, and student to personnel ratios. It is not practical or realistic for the state to allow school districts to bargain away federally mandated assessments under the Every Student Succeeds Act or requirements by the state for schools to allow high school students to take a college entrance exam during a school day. So the language in this proposal, 603, is problematic because it is going to hurt our students if teachers are not allowed to collaborate when they discuss these issues. So, Madam Chair, I ask again for an aye vote, a yes vote.
Representative Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This section is good for students and it's good for educators because it expands the scope of bargaining to include and allow educators to bargain for smaller class sizes, reduction in testing that are not mandated by the state, and for student to staff ratios. It's a very important part of the bill, and I request a no vote.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. Ms. Larson, please take the roll.
Chair Richardson,
No?
Vice Chair Hassan,
No.
Representative Erickson,
Aye.
Representative Drazkowski,
Aye.
Representative Bennett, Representative Berg,
No.
Representative Bowe,
Aye.
Representative Christensen,
No.
Representative Edelson,
No.
Representative Feist,
Aye. No.
Representative Frazier,
No.
Representative Jordan,
No.
Representative Keeler,
No.
Representative Moeller,
No.
Representative Mueller,
Mueller votes yes.
Representative Poston excused, Representative Scott,
Yes.
Representative Erdahl,
Yes.
Representative Wozlowick,
No.
Representative Bennett, Madam Chair, there are 6 ayes and 11 nays.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. The A3 amendment is not adopted. Representative Erickson to.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the A4 amendment and request a roll call. This section denies current and former teachers of any right to file a claim or cause of action to recover any fees paid to the union without their consent. So I'm moving to delete this because there is a lawsuit that has been filed by teachers, and this would remove their standing while waiting for their day in court, which is not right. There's also no way we can know that every teacher from which fair share fees were garnished did not have an expectation that they might be able to recover some or all of it. And please remember that between 2014 and 2018, the unions knew that forced fair share fees stood on shaky ground, and they bear some responsibility for their reliance on these fees. To now act like the decision handed down by the Supreme Court in 2018 was a complete surprise and without any warning is disingenuous. I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This part of the bill is very important. Unions did collect fair share dues when it was legal for 40 years, as we've heard from other testimony, and it's important that they are not held to harm for collecting dues for so long. I request a no vote.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. Ms. Larson, please take the roll.
Chair Richardson,
No.
Vice Chair Hassan, Representative Erickson,
Aye.
Representative Drazkowski,
Aye.
Representative Bennett, Representative Berg,
No.
Representative Bowe,
Aye.
Representative Christensen,
No.
Representative Edelson,
No.
Representative Feist,
No.
Representative Frazier,
No.
Representative Jordan,
No.
Representative Keeler,
No.
Representative Moeller,
No.
Representative Mueller,
Mueller votes yes.
Representative Poston excused, Representative Scott, Representative Scott, Representative Erdahl,
Yes.
Representative Wozlowick,
No.
Representative Bennett, Representative Scott. Madam Chair, there are 5 ayes and 11 nays.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. The amendment is not adopted. Moving on to the A5 amendment, Representative Erickson.
Madam Chair, I move the A5 amendment. This would delete section 5. This section requires public employees to provide unions access to union members during working hours, the right to conduct worksite meetings during lunch or other breaks, the right to meet with newly hired employees on time paid for by the employer, the right to use the public employer email system. You know, when you think about this, there's no specific provision that appears to give the employee the option or the right to reject these mandated meetings with a union official. Unions have the right to conduct union business with their resources, but school mail systems have been funded by the taxpayers and include teachers who may choose not to join or participate with the union. With that, Madam Chair, I ask for a yes vote.
Thank you, Representative Erickson. Representative Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Section 5 is very important to this bill. It allows educators and their bargaining units the ability to organize through space and district emails, et cetera. And it is a very important part of this bill. So I urge a no vote.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. Ms. Larson, please take the roll.
Chair Richardson,
No.
Vice Chair Hassan.
No.
Representative Erickson.
Aye.
Representative Drazkowski.
Aye.
Representative Bennett. Representative Berg.
No.
Representative Bowe.
Aye.
Representative Christensen.
No.
Representative Edelson.
No.
Representative Feist.
No.
Representative Frazier.
No.
Representative Jordan.
No.
Representative Keeler.
No.
Representative Moeller.
No.
Representative Mueller.
Mueller votes yes.
Representative Poston excused. Representative Scott. Representative Erdahl.
Yes.
Representative Wozlowick.
No.
Representative Bennett. Representative Scott. Madam Chair, there are 5 ayes and 11 nays.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. The amendment is not adopted. Representative Erickson to the A6 amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do move the A6 amendment, which would delete Section 6. This section requires public schools to provide the union with personal information on file, including home addresses and private email, within 10 days of hiring, and an updated list of all employees every 120 days. And Madam Chair, I do request a roll call. So employees not wishing to join the union or to be solicited to join the union should not have to give their personal information, including their home address, to the union. Why would the union want home addresses? Why do they want to know where people live, where these teachers live? So the only remedy available to teachers not wanting this information shared with the union is to refuse to give it to the school. Therefore, I ask for a yes vote on the A6 amendment.
Thank you, Representative Erickson. Representative Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to this amendment, I urge a no vote. It would remove many provisions that are essential for union organizing. And just as a reminder, no one is compelled to join the union. So I urge a no vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. Ms. Larson, please take the roll.
Chair Richardson.
No.
Vice Chair Hassan.
No.
Representative Erickson.
Aye.
Representative Drazkowski.
Aye.
Representative Bennett. Representative Berg.
No.
Representative Bowe.
Aye.
Representative Christensen.
No.
Representative Edelson.
No.
Representative Feist.
No.
Representative Frazier.
No.
Representative Jordan.
No.
Representative Keeler.
No.
Representative Moeller.
No.
Representative Mueller.
Mueller votes yes.
Representative Poston excused. Representative Scott.
Aye.
Representative Erdahl.
Yes.
Representative Wozlowick.
No.
Representative Bennett. Madam Chair, there are 6 ayes and 11 nays.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. The amendment is not adopted. I will just let members know that we are going to have to reschedule Representative Erdahl's bills. We still have a couple of amendments to get through, but again, we will have a point certain to which we will have to take a vote at 2:25 on the current bill. Representative Erickson to the next amendment, the A7.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do offer the A7 amendment, which deletes Section 7, and request a roll call. this section is about an arbitrator issuing a protective order. And I don't think it's the responsibility of an education policy committee to change the scope of information that could be subject to an arbitrator's protective order. Without more information or expert testimony, we don't know what the consequences of this would be. With that, Madam Chair, I ask for a yes vote.
Thank you, Representative Erickson. Representative Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Section 7 is important to the bill because this is a section that gives data information to those representing someone going into arbitration. And I'd agree with Representative Erickson that this is outside the scope of education policy, which is why this bill will be going to judiciary, where we will be looking at this section. For now, I urge a no vote.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. Ms. Larson, please take the roll.
Chair Richardson?
No.
Vice Chair Hassan?
Nope.
Representative Erickson?
Aye.
Representative Drazkowski?
Aye.
Representative Bennett? Representative Berg?
No.
Representative Bowe?
Aye.
Representative Christensen?
No.
Representative Edelson?
No.
Representative Feist?
No.
Representative Frazier?
No.
Representative Jordan?
No.
Representative Keeler?
No.
Representative Moeller?
No.
Representative Mueller?
Mueller votes yes.
Representative Poston excused. Representative Scott?
Yes.
Representative Erdahl?
Yes.
Representative Waslowick?
No.
Representative Bennett? Madam Chair, there are 6 ayes and 11 nays.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. The amendment is not adopted, and we have the DE2 amendment. Representative Erickson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do move the DE2 amendments. It's a delete all amendment to replace the bill with new language that would classify teachers as essential employees. And there's no time like the present to realize how essential teachers are to our students and to our parents and to the public. Day after day, we hear these very, very sad, alarming stories about the loss of learning, the isolation that our children are feeling. There is so much to point to the fact that they all feel that their teachers are essential. And with that, I think 602 or 603, excuse me, it has none of these priorities. We're not getting children back in the classroom. And that's what's so important at this point. We should be discussing, debating, talking about how do we get our children back in the classroom and how do we restore the loss of learning that's taken place for some students over a year. Madam Chair, I ask for a yes vote and call for a roll call.
Thank you, Representative Erickson. Representative Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This language is not what this bill is about. It removes the right of educators to strike, which is an important right. Not only that, educator strikes in Minnesota are very rare, and I urge a no vote on this amendment.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. Ms. Larson, please take the roll.
Chair Richardson?
No.
Vice Chair Hassan?
No.
Representative Erickson?
Aye.
Representative Drazkowski?
Aye.
Representative Bennett?
You're muted.
Representative Berg?
No.
Representative Bowe?
Aye.
Representative Christensen?
No.
Representative Edelson?
No.
Representative Feist?
No.
Representative Frazier?
No.
Representative Jordan?
No.
Representative Keeler?
No.
Representative Moeller?
No.
Representative Mueller?
Mueller votes yes.
Representative Poston excused. Representative Scott?
Aye.
Representative Erdahl?
No.
Representative Wozlowick,
No.
Representative Bennett,
Aye.
Madam Chair, there are 6 ayes and 12 nays.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. The amendment is not adopted. I will just remind members that this bill has some additional stops to be made, and that will definitely allow for more conversation and discussion on several of the issues that have been raised here. With that, Representative, to your bill, any final comments on your bill? I'll give you the last word.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I ask for your support. This is a bill that puts the priorities of students, families, and educators on the bargaining table which is right where they should be. So I ask for your support on this bill, and thank you for listening to myself and all of our testifiers today.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. Representative Jordan renews her motion that House File 603 be re-referred to the Labor Committee. The clerk will take the roll.
Chair Richardson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hassan,
Aye.
Representative Erickson,
No.
Representative Drazkowski,
No.
Representative Bennett,
No.
Representative Berg,
Yes.
Representative Bowe,
Bo votes no.
Representative Christensen,
Yes.
Representative Adelson,
Aye.
Representative Feist,
Aye.
Representative Frazier,
Aye.
Representative Jordan,
Aye.
Representative Keeler,
Aye.
Representative Moeller,
Aye.
Representative Mueller,
Mueller votes no.
Representative Poston, excused. Representative Scott,
No.
Representative Erdahl,
No.
Representative Wozlowick.
Yes.
Madam Chair, there are 11 ayes and 7 nays.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. The motion prevails and House File 603 is re-referred to the Labor Committee. Congratulations, Representative Jordan. And with that, there being no further business before the committee, we are adjourned.